Welcome to Ink and Bones. My name is Jaden. In this video, we are going to finally knock out the sketch and pencils for the cover of, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the title, The Spooky Adventures of Patti and Jack. So my main focus here was to showcase what the book will be about, the vibe of it, the look of it, all right there, right on the cover, so you don't have to do any guesswork when you pick up this book in a store or see it online. So let's get started with the sketch. Now my main objective, of course, is to let a reader or a potential buyer online in a store, if it gets there, that'd be really rad, but it's to let the customer know what the book is going to be about, the look of it, the feel of it, everything. You kind of want to get that off of the cover image. And it took me a very long time to figure out what I wanted that to be, and then it was very random. I got to page 22, or actually before I finished page 22, I knew exactly what the cover was going to be. It just kind of, it just snapped into my head. It was fucking crazy. Spent all that time thinking about it. Should I do something super dynamic? Should they be running and jumping and bats flying? Should it be a whole bunch of kids? Or I didn't know what, but then it finally hit me, and I decided that we are on Halloween night. The main objective is to get as much candy as you can. That is their main objective, Patti and Jack. I mean, they're having a competition for who gets the most candy. So what better place to put them in than essentially a giant ball pit full of candy? I think right off the bat, you're gonna get the point of the story of what this book is about. Now, starting off, the angle was a little tricky to work with, but I kind of grabbed that very quickly. Throughout this whole book, I have drawn a lot of bowls and buckets and pages of candy piled on top of each other. So I did kind of have a leg up on this concept. And I hesitated to put in Timmy, but he does play an integral part of the story. He also looks very cool. He's like an amalgamation of Jason and Michael Myers. Jack looks sick. Patti looks really cool. And I don't know, I love Timmy. I wish he wasn't wearing the Jason mask for a further project, because he is such a cool little character. He's just this little slasher fanatic. So I had to throw him in there. I think that was one of the last decisions on the cover that I made. And then later, that's when I decided to add the little Timmy the Slasher. All right, and that was a super quick sketch portion. Like I said, I knew exactly what I was doing when I was going into this, so there's not a lot going on. It's a bunch of rectangles and circles and, you know, a couple characters that I've drawn extensively, so very quick. But before we get to the pencils, I'd like to take this moment to remind you to slash that like button if you haven't already. If you're digging what you're seeing so far and you want to see some more videos, consider subscribing. Comment down below what you think of the page. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the pencils. Nothing too crazy here with the pencil section. I'm just tightening up these red lines that I did. Pretty much everything that I sketched out goes right into the pencils. I didn't really have to ad-lib, you know, some pencil lines or redo a lot of the red lines. And with the candy that's in that foreground, I did put, you know, the X's on it, and I kind of imagined that they were going to be blacked out. I'm already in the color stage of the cover right now. I tried doing it black. I didn't really dig it. I actually got a gradient going. But that's essentially the vibe of this, is that they're so piled in that we have candy even coming up, you know, way to the foreground, and then they're kind of in the back where, you know, this like big mountain of candy has been poured. I drew a little eyeball on that, whatever candy that is that Jack has his hand on. I was gonna do one of those like old school, I don't know if you remember like the Frankenstein chocolates. They have the eyeball chocolates. They're like cut out like ghosts. Super cool in concept, but I think it might have been too distracting when it got to the finished portion of it, because especially looking at the inks that I have already done now and how simple this cover is, I mean, there's a lot of shit going on. I mean, it's a lot of lines that are happening. And I think if I really dove deep into the details of what is on the candy, like I actually drew it in there, faces and words and whatever, I think that would really dampen down the whole effect of the page. if that kind of makes sense. I just didn't want to go too crazy in the details because also this book doesn't go too crazy in the details, especially when the inks come along. Yeah, I'm actually going to be simplifying a lot of the pencil lines that I did when I get to the inks of the rest of the book. So yeah, so I only drew that eyeball, I think, on one of them, and then I might have done like another test in the pencils to see if it looked good, but when the inks are done, you'll see that I just kind of drew some bats and shit. And in the colors, that's where I'll get to explore that a little bit more. Maybe I'll just color in a circle or some letters just to where it doesn't take up so much attention away from the main entree of the cover. And pretty much I'm just trying to submerge these kids into the candy. We got Patti, you know, she's digging it, hairs over her eyes, she's being piled into a bunch of circle chocolates. They're kind of like the Lindt, Lindt chocolates, like they're like the big spheres with the candy, you know, it's twisted on the end and the wrappers like shooting out. That's kind of the idea I had with all of these little circle wrapping looking things. And then here we go, we got Timmy, he's hanging on to a sucker handle. Sucker handles and sucker tops are a huge component in drawing all these mass amounts of candy. It's just sticking out, it gives them good dimension. Once you start drawing a shitload of candy, you realize that there is only really a few shapes. It's a sphere, a rectangle, and maybe like a circle hybrid for like a Reese's peanut butter cup. But then that packaging is just a square and it's got the little serrated edges on it. So that was really fun to try and figure out how to make it look different and also not look stale with all of these very similar shapes compiled on top of each other. And then just building up, we're just building up the mountain of candy. Candy Mountain, Charlie. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Oh my God, that's an old ass video. Candy Mountain. And there you have it. That is the pencils. This is a very quick video. It's one page, one image, nothing too crazy, but let's go ahead and check out the results.
Yo, Charlie, we found a map to Candy Mountain. Candy Mountain, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie, we're going to Candy Mountain.
And there you have it. Pencils are all done for the whole freaking book. And as of now, the cover is inked and the colors are on the way. So we are cooking on this book. I'm finally getting some videos backlogged. It is going to have to be that way because I believe by next Friday, when this comes out, I will most likely have had my little newborn baby girl for a month. So I'm trying to get as many videos as I can done, get these all backlogged, scheduled to go, so I can take care of that little shit and then make some more videos for you guys to check out. Thank you so much for watching. If you dug the video and you want to see some more, consider subscribing. Maybe slash that like button if you haven't already. Comment down below. Anything you do, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping by. That's going to do it for this episode of Ink and Bonez, and I will see you on the next page.